Are you struggling with a hunched over Quasimodo-like posture? Would you like to work on the aesthetics of your dancing when you dance in couple or solo? The possibility that it comes from your day-to-day posture and the way you move is very big. So we will dive deep into a few key components, and we will do a few simple exercises that you can do at your home without any equipment to make the whole dancing experience so much better. We will start with the ankles, move to the hips, then to the thoracic spine, and then the shoulders. The thing that most of the people, followers and leaders, do is that they have a slight hunched over position. We will start from the ground up. The ankles. Now, the ankle mobility is how far your knees can travel to the front. Let's say that if you put your foot up the stool and you try to bring your knee far to the front, how far can your knee travel? There is a simple way, because there's no point in doing exercises without really understanding and seeing any impact or a difference before you did the exercises and after. This means we always have to check and recheck if what we did really worked. So for the ankle mobility, a very simple test to do is to try to push your knee to the wall and pretty much mark on the floor where your foot was before your knee touched the wall. That's the wall, that's my foot. I will try to push in this case, my left knee to the wall and see, my foot is way too far away from the wall, so I need to bring it closer. Okay, I almost touch the wall. This means that this is the position where my ankle feels the most comfortable. You shouldn't feel a jammy feeling in the ankle, and the ankle should not hurt. If the ankle mobility increases, that would mean that I can bring my foot slightly more to the back. Now, two very simple exercises to warm up and train the mobility for the ankles. Very simple. We'll start with the first one. It's the eccentric heel raises. You can even do it on a step where your ankle goes under level. But we will start here, raise the ankles high, and go slowly down. Again, if you don't have any pain or anything, you can just go on a step. And then, of course, your ankle can have this negative radius. Right, so you just go up and then slowly come down. And then push up. I'm not really pushing with my hands or anything. And then slowly come down. For this exercise, you can do 12 reps of 3 sets. Now, we will do exactly the opposite. And the exercise is called tibialis raises. For the tibialis raises, you need to find a sturdy wall where you will pretty much relax on the wall. Your low back is on the wall. You don't have an arch at the back. Your shoulder is also at the wall. And pretty much the whole weight is at my heels, on my heels. So what I'm going to do is just try to lift the toes. I'm not trying to curl the toes or anything. The toes are super relaxed. Remember this is crucial. And then try to bring as much as possible the ball of the foot up. So my whole weight's on the heels. Now you will try to do this again for 12 reps, 3 sets, and then you will probably feel a burning sensation in the front. That's the tibialis. This exercise will again help you a lot to send a lot of blood in this region, and it will help the mobility. Now, after you do these 2 exercises, you need to recheck the mobility of your ankle. Again, since hopefully you did mark the spot where your toes were, you can again recheck the mobility of your foot if it got any better. If it got any better, that's great. This means that these two exercises will help you a lot in order to be able to bend your knees much further. And by bending your knees much further, like your whole upper body becomes so much straighter. Do not underestimate the mobility of the ankles. The whole idea of bachata is to understand and know how to flex your ankles, your feet, everything. So you need to have a lot of control over this movement. By doing these exercises, this helps a lot in order to understand and feel more grounded. Being more mobile and having, of course, more strength at the feet allows you to have a much better posture. Now, we will move up to the hips. The hips are the ones that make the whole dance so much elegant. If you have a great hip mobility, you can have a really nice basic, not only alone, but also with your dance partner. You need to have a contact at your hip for both leaders and followers. Now, if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, you pretty much push your hips back. And this is something you need to avoid. If you do this, you don't have such a great contact. So, of course, you need to be able to bring the hips and everything back in the front. How can you do that? Squeeze a little bit the butt, squeeze a little bit the abdominals, the lower abdominals, and by being here, you come here. This is something you cannot do the whole time while you're dancing, but you can keep this in mind, and before initiating a dance, you can slightly retract the abs and the glutes, and everything comes back. I'll show you a few exercises for this, but also we need to talk about the mobility of the hip. You need to think of the pelvis is a socket. So it's something like this, and the hip head goes in. So it's a ball joint. Now this ball joint needs to be free in order to move as good as possible. Of course, everybody has a different anatomy. Some people have more bones in some places that they shouldn't have. I know because I already had 2 hip surgeries. Genes play, of course, a role. So you need to have a better external and internal mobility. In my case, my internal mobility is not that great. It's how it is, but you still can work on that. Now, the internal mobility is, again, if you bring your knee up 90 degrees and then push your foot outside. That's the internal mobility. Exercises that you can do for that are, of course, squats. But in this case, squats only for the mobility. And by that, I mean you can just have a deep squat. You can hold onto something and then just relax. You can have like a rounded back, that's not a problem because you don't have any weight on your back. And just relax. This you can do for a few minutes. Now, what about the core, and the butt? For the core, things that you can always do is ab exercises. I detest the crunches. What I usually do is the dead bug in an isometric way. Isometrics are exercises where you do not really move, but you stay put and you hold that position. Simplest example, your lower back shouldn't have a lot of space to the floor, so you need to push your lower back to the floor. You will start feeling a vibration in the lower abdominals. This is great. This means that your muscles are working. You can bring your knees and feet up to a 90 degree here also, and then slowly try to go as far as possible without having your lower back arch up. If you understand, or if you feel, oh, I'm arching my back, this means that you need to pull back a little bit and bring it up. I will do these exercises for, let's say, 3 sets and 20 seconds hold each side. If for you it's way too difficult or way too easy, of course you can play around with the numbers. For the internal rotation of the hip, what you can do is a 90-90 on the floor. That's an exercise where you sit on the floor, have 90 on the front, 90 on the back, and try also not to arch your back. Sit down, and then you need to, in my case, right side, I will try to bring my foot up while my knee still stays on the ground. You will start feeling a maybe pinchy feeling over here at the outside of your hip. Just trying to do a few of these lifts, and just remember, maybe your foot won't move, maybe your foot might move a few centimeters. It is absolutely fine. It is, let's say, difficult exercise, especially for those who don't have a great mobility. Do this again, maybe 10-12 times. If still not possible, by moving your upper body to the front, you have a leverage and it's much easier to do these exercises. The opposite also applies for the external rotation. Again, for the same hip, I just switched the 99 position, and now I need to lift the right foot up. My knee still stays on the ground. Try these exercises and then go again into a squat and see if they helped a bit. We need to talk about the thoracic spine because you need to be able to do these movements. A very simple way to do it is to hit the box. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is something that we usually do in a warm-up. Isolate this movement and do this a few times per week. It will make your body and your flowiness go much better. Now, what we can also do is, again, try to immobilize the thoracic spine by isolating again the upper body. Go into your knees. Put one hand on the floor in order to isolate the lower back, and then try to reach with your, in this case, right arm under the left arm. So I'm rotating my thoracic spine to the left, and then try to reach up. And then go down, exhale, inhale. Try to do this movement like this. If you do this in a standing position, you'll probably use a lot of your lower back, and this is something we don't want to do. For the end, everything about the upper body. In order to avoid this position, you need to be able to breathe in the upper chest. And, of course, you can do a lot of breathing exercises. For example, let's say you want to push the wall away from you. You want to try to touch the wall with your chest. Try this a few times, maybe again, 12 reps, 3 sets, and you will feel so much better. Now, the last part is going to be about the upper body. By meaning the upper body is every pull motion that we are doing is going to help us to keep an upright position of the upper body. No rounded shoulders, just chest up, shoulders back. I'm still aware that everybody may have a different anatomy and you need to be aware of that. So maybe for somebody else, the posture looks different than yours. You need to strive for an optimal posture for your body. Nevertheless, the typical exercises that you can do are pull exercises. How you can do it? I know I mentioned at the beginning that I would like to avoid any further equipment. Having a band like this, it's not a luxury. I think I bought a band like this for around €8. So if you even don't have something like this, don't worry, you can take a towel, a bath towel, a long bath towel, and you can also do these exercises isometrically. As already mentioned, isometric exercises are exercises that you do not really move, but you create tension and you hold it. In our case, we will start with, I would say, compound movement. It's a crucial movement that you can execute and trains the whole posterior chain, your upper back, lower back, your glutes, hamstrings, calves, and everything else. We will still try to target the upper back, and we will just take the band, step over it, like this. So right foot is around where my right hip is, left foot is where around my left hip is. Of course, depending on your anatomy, it may look different. And not only this, but it may feel comfortable if you take a narrower stance or a wider stance. So you need to play a little bit around with that. Get back to the position, and I will try to pretty much sit down. Imagine that behind you there is a seat, and let's say I want to sit back. Don't fall down, but it's just for the brain to think how the movement could look like. So just go back. You might start feeling a stretch at your hamstrings and glutes, but since we're not going to do a deadlift now, you'll just go in this position and then just start pulling the band up. Just pulling the band up, pulling the band up. Remember, these muscles, the trap muscles, need to be compressed down, so it's like somebody pulling them towards there. And by doing this, and let's say even pressing against your axle, you automatically pull all the muscles down. And the reason for that is so you don't have the shoulders up. If you have the shoulder ups, you cannot really do the movement correctly. Plus, you're not really training your upper back. Go to this position. Chest also is going to be a little bit up. So do not have the chest in, have the chest up. And start pulling. Depending on the thickness of the band, you may make it more difficult or easier. Also, if you work with a towel, you can do it in an isometric way. Of course, your stance plays also a role. Like if I go in a wider stance, this means that there is less band free, and this also means that I increase the tension. Now, if we want to make the exercise in an isometric way, we can grab the band, let's say from here, going again into the position, and pull and hold depending on how long you can, maybe for 20 seconds, maybe for 30 seconds. I think that's a good duration. If it's too easy, then grab the band lower or make your stance a bit wider. Now, my upper body is starting to shake. That is great. This means that my muscles are working. Now, if you train your back, pretty much what your back muscles do is they pull the muscles towards back. So if you're in that position and you train your back muscles, they will pretty much pull you back. Of course, another reason why you have rounded shoulders is because the chest muscles are also weak. Usually when the muscles are weak, they pull everything together. They do not allow the muscles to extend and go back. Some people say that you're tight, yeah, but tightness is because the muscle cannot hold a certain position and your body always wants to protect you. So instead of allowing the muscle to extend, because if you have control over the muscle and the muscle is strong enough, it can extend, it just stays like this and it doesn't allow you to do anything. So of course, what you can also do is the opposite direction. Bend slightly your knees, embrace the core, engage the glutes, and then you just do this movement, which is a pushing movement. It can be something like bench press. You can do it standing, you can do it laying on the floor on your back. Still, I would concentrate on movements for your back. That was one way to do pulling motions. I'm not talking about the pushing motions. What you can of course do is place the band somewhere. I have a pole over here. Funny enough, I'm in a pole dancing studio. It should be around your shoulder level. I can just grab it or just bring my arm in. Again, go into the position that I told you. And what I'm trying to do is I'm pulling over here at the top back. The movement is very minimal, but if you do it, to you it may feel like your shoulder goes out of the socket and then you just pull it slightly back. I don't have my elbow bent, so it's again a small movement and you will feel around the upper lats a working sensation, a warm sensation. Of course, you can continue and do a normal pull. Always remember, you need to go to the athletic stance, slightly bending your knees, engage your glutes. You allow your shoulder to go far to the front and then pull and pull. You pull again with your back. You need to understand to just pull from here. It might sound strange, but you need to do the movement slowly in order to understand how they work. I can pull with weights 30-40 kilos, but I can still make the muscles work even with a simple band, and this band can take around 10 kilos of pull force. So you need to understand that you can always control the muscles no matter how much the weight is. I can just, if I stand and activate the muscle, this is something you need to do also when you're in the close frame position. You need to activate your lats. So you might see this motion, I only activate the lats. So you need to be able to do these movements in order to be able to dance much better. Something that maybe I forgot to mention is when I pull, my elbow just goes slightly behind my back. So I do not need to exaggerate, otherwise I'm starting to turn my upper body. So in this case, we will just concentrate in slight pulls. I gave you 2 pull exercises and 1 pressing exercise. Of course, there are so many more exercises that you can do for your back and your chest, upper back. Keep this in mind. These are extremely simple. With these exercises, you can have an improvement at your posture, and this improvement of your posture will help you a lot on your dancing, not only solo but also with a partner. Key things to remember: if you have a great posture, you give a great feeling to your partner, you have a better connection with a partner, and you can lead much better. Keep these things in mind. I hope I could help you with a few tips. Of course, I can go so much more deep in each exercise. Maybe I can go to the gym, and I'm going quite often to the gym, but maybe I can record in the gym with weights and everything that you can do in order to be able to dance so much more aesthetically pleasing and with a better posture. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe I see you in the next one or on the dance floor.